Good afternoon, everybody. It is Wednesday, January 4th, 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to watch the S&P 500 react here because we have the FOMC minutes coming out in 1.5 minutes. And that's going to give us volatility in the short term. Bitcoin is testing key resistance as we speak. The bulls are out today. And we'll see if that remains the case after this FOMC reaction. I don't think it's going to be a massive reaction, but we'll see it on the 5 and shorter term time frame charts. So let's stick here for a minute or so and watch this reaction. And obviously, if we break the low of consolidation, it'll be a bear reaction. If we break the high of the day, it'll be a bull reaction. We're tightening up on the 15-minute time frame heading into it. And it's pretty much just a question of, are we going to remain a daily inside bar on the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ or not? So reaction coming shortly. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you had a happy new year. We're also going to look at some crypto stocks which are standing out for the bulls. MARA and Coin up notably today. Gotta make sure I remember to look at those. TradingView does not like me today. All right, here comes a reaction. Testing support, holding support. So again, nothing massive. We'll see in the next 5-minute candle or so, we might be able to just disregard this. Bull's making an attempt. Bears defending resistance. Bulls defending support. So not a huge reaction. But it is more bullish than bearish. But bears are defending that resistance level up at the high of the day on both the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. So nothing changes until one of these two level breaks. And even then, it's just 15-minute time frames that will be impacted. Just want to see one of these levels break or not. So we'll keep an eye on it. But let's get into it. So, daily time frame, bigger picture for the S&P 500. Again, as I've talked about many times, we're still watching for the potential of a 2-week higher low and a 2-week inverse head and shoulders setup. Step one is setting that 2-week higher low. And to do so, we have to break the high of last week. And so we're fairly close to it, but we do need to see another, how many percent? Looks like we're getting a little bit more of a bear reaction now. We're only about 1% away from that resistance level breaking. You can see we just rejected from the high of the day and then broke support. So zooming out to the hourly time frame, and it's now just a question of how much of a rejection are the bears going to be able to put together here. But shaping up for the potential here that we're just going to have a daily inside bar on the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. It's definitely a bear reaction at this point after that resistance rejection. And we'll see how this can, we'll keep checking in on how this shapes up. But bears playing defense. So I'm watching for the 2-week inverse head and shoulders, still possible. Again, we've got to break the resistance level from the high of last week. And it could go either way here. There's a pretty notable battle that's going on right now in the S&P 500 over the last couple of days. And we had Apple dumping with Tesla yesterday, and we have Meta showing strength, and we have a lot of tug of war going on right now. So how we break this sideways range, this is 2 weeks of trading on the S&P 500, it's going to have significant implications in terms of the momentum that we have here into the rest of January and potentially setting the tone for Q1 of 2023. So watching very closely for the direction that we break here. It's still on the table for the bulls. We know the bulls have more proving to do. We know the bulls need help from the NASDAQ and from big tech names, but it is still a possibility, and it is still something that we're going to be keeping an eye on over the next week. The dollar started a bounce yesterday, and then we pulled back massively overnight, and now we're bouncing. It's a 4-hour equilibrium that's shaping up. So low, high, higher low, and scouting a lower high here as we have the dollar reacting bullish to FOMC minutes and the market reacting bearish. And so how the 4-hour time frame for the dollar breaks here is going to be notable for me, because that's either going to have us follow through over daily EMA 12 resistance for the first time in over a month, or it's going to keep the bears in control. So if you are bullish, crypto, equities, commodities, you want the dollar to break this pattern bear and hit fresh lows. And if you are bearish any of those things, you want the dollar to break that 4-hour tightening range bullish. So we'll keep an eye on that. There's potential that it tightens up through tomorrow as well. Maybe we get another 4-hour lower high, and then maybe tomorrow, later in the day, we will get a break. Something to keep an eye on. Market trying to bounce right now. Keeping an eye on the 1-minute time frame for this kind of volatile reaction. And we'll see who can grab a trend, who can confirm a 1-minute uptrend or a 1-minute downtrend in terms of having any follow through. But in the end, we're trading where we were an hour ago, so it's not a massive reaction at this point. So we got the dollar 4-hour equilibrium on watch. Crypto stocks. So crypto stocks having a solid day today, and probably the first most convincing day that we've seen for these bulls in a long time. I mean, it's been really since December 5th. So we've gone an entire month without a day like this. And it's just a high volume green candle. And you look at this and you might say, well, what's the news? Why are we seeing this kind of strength today? And then you look at the cannabis sector, see this daily chart. Let's just compare it. And again, the comparison between crypto and cannabis is they are the highest risk, highest reward sectors in existence, in my opinion. And they are trading extremely similarly in that regard. So we had the cannabis bears in absolute complete control over the last few weeks, a weak bounce the past few days, same as our crypto names. And then today, the most convincing bullish day in about a month. It's very similar. And so CGC was up 8 to 10% today, and MARA is up 25% today at the high. So just shorts being forced to cover, because again, shorts had easy street for the last month of trading in these names, and so they're being forced to cover a little bit. And so that was a bit of a bull headwind. I looked at the broader market, and I looked at the crypto names, and so I was able to say, certainly not a bold prediction, but 2 hours ago I was able to say, keep an eye on Bitcoin to test 17,000 resistance, because we're getting signs of some market confidence. And so if you're bullish crypto, you want to see these crypto stocks showing a sentiment shift. And today, we're seeing a sentiment shift in the crypto space in the last 5 days, and it is spearheaded by Sol. And we're going to look at Sol in just a moment, but the fact that Sol just bounced however much it just did, 60, 70%, that is, in my opinion, leading to some capital coming off the sidelines, some shorts saying, all right, I'm going to cover, there's been really nice gains over the last month, and I'm going to lock some of that in. And so again, there is a shift underway. That being said, we know that if we're going to see a shift have follow through, we have to confirm trend changes as a result. So right now, it's just a full-on bear downtrend on MARA, and now a little 5-day bounce. That's great. But when this bounce tops out, And when the bears start to gain some short-term control again, we have to confirm the daily trend change to prove to us this is not just a one-off little bounce. This is not just a bounce like back here to reset things. Because again, you get to a point where everybody's on one side of the boat and everybody's short and bearish, and there's nobody left to sell longs and there's nobody left to short. So you get these little bounces. It's not a short squeeze, but you get the scales tilting. And so the question is, all right, the scales have tilted again where demand is outweighing supply of shares the last 5 days, but do the scales stay tilted, or are we just gonna flip right back after a daily lower high and then keep dropping to lower lows? So I cannot stress enough how important the daily trend change is after the initial move takes place. So we haven't topped out yet, but we know we're gonna be watching for it in the next couple of days. And then once we do, we've got to hold the low and then see that higher high. Coin, same deal. Not as volatile as MARA, but most bullish day in a while and at the high of its bounce. But coin is pretty much, if you're looking at MARA and coin, the way that they trade against each other, it's almost just like a leveraged version. They're doing very much the same thing. MARA drops way harder, it bounces way harder than coin. So it's, if you want the leveraged version, you're trading MARA. And if you want the lower key version, the higher market cap, the more liquidity, the more dollar volume, it's coin. And Riot, I assume, I haven't looked at it today, I assume it's doing the same thing. Yeah. Most bullish day in about a month. All right, so Bitcoin tested resistance and rejected right now. And the reason is we're pulling back. There's a 1 minute lower high. We're testing the low of the FOMC reaction now. Bulls are hoping for a 1 minute equilibrium to happen here. But again, we can clearly say at this point, it's more of a bearish reaction than a bullish reaction. So with that, that is helping the Bitcoin bears reject from resistance. We just tested 17,000 and we rejected. So potential that we remain range bound. Hourly time frame still in an uptrend. So we've got space to maintain these higher lows even with that rejection, but it is a clear rejection at this point. And if we were to lose the hourly uptrend and start to follow through for the bears from here, then it's entirely possible that this daily time frame just keeps tightening up and stays boring. We would look for a higher low compared to 16.3 thousand, but that's on the table as well. Certainly still close enough to resistance to keep it in play. But I would say if we lose the hourly uptrend, that increases probabilities for the potential of a clear rejection from 17,000. But right now, bulls are remaining close enough to keep 17,000 in play. The dominance chart for Bitcoin is rolling over, which is showing us the alts. The alts are bouncing more significantly the last few days. Our lead bears, we'll look at some of them in just a moment. Sand, ADA, Mana, they've had nice bounces over the last few days. And their percentage moves certainly more significant than Bitcoin, which hasn't broken resistance. And so we're seeing the alt bounce lead to a dominance pullback. And the last live stream that we did, we were looking for this to be a rising wedge. And I forget exactly what I said about it, but something along the lines of bulls hope this breaks bear and hope it breaks bear because the altcoin bulls are bouncing more significantly. So we're going to look for a weekly higher low on the dominance chart. Again, I don't get a ton of information from the dominance chart these days. It's just at a glance, I can look over at the right here on my watch list and just say, all right, alts are leading Bitcoin very clearly. Bitcoin's near the bottom, everything else near the top. I know the dominance chart is dropping. I don't have to look at it. So Sol. So a lot of opinions on Sol. In my opinion, and a lot of people saying this is a pump because of this whatever airdrop. I don't even know what it is, a dog or whatever. I found out about we've been talking about Sol for the last 6 days in the trading room, very often, or even in the dump, the last 7 days. And I just found out today about this airdrop. And the point of that is the people that are trading full time, the people that are trading very seriously, don't care about that airdrop. They care about the price action. The price action showed us a climax bottom. We reached a point where there was nobody left to sell and there was nobody left to short. We then traded sideways for a significant period of time, and then the scales tilted. And you might be looking and saying, I don't even know how to say his name. Vitalik, his tweet. I don't know if I've ever heard his name said. I've read it 150,000 times. Anyways, his tweet helped the Soul Bulls. And you could say the airdrop helped the Soul Bulls, but again, in my opinion, it has a lot more to do with price action and simple supply and demand than anything else. And so, a lot of people, the amount of times I see a stock do this, make a significant move because one side is way overextended, and then everybody try and put a fundamental reason as to why it's happening. It's not always fundamentals. Maybe in this instance it is. Maybe I'm wrong, but just don't, when you get extremes in one direction or the other, fundamentals don't have to be playing a part for significant percentage moves. It's supply and demand, it's the scales tilting. So we are looking for daily consolidation. Certainly not looking long at this point. We've got a bearish reversal candle forming on the daily time frame. We have space for a 4-hour, well, not yet. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We are looking for a 4-hour higher low to be the result of this consolidation. If the bulls are going to keep control here, they want to see 15-minute oversold conditions. We got real close to it earlier, but didn't quite get there. They want to see 15-minute oversold conditions mark the 4-hour higher low. So I will say that if we hold 4-hour EMA 12 on this consolidation, it's possible that bulls aren't done yet. Bears really want to lose 4-hour EMA 12 support to then create the space for the 4-hour downtrend to shape up. So it all depends on your time frame here. What's the most likely scenario on the daily? Consolidation. We know it's coming sooner rather than later after the size of this move. What's the most likely scenario on the 4-hour time frame? A higher low. If I'm looking for the 4-hour higher low, I'm not going to hold it very long in a bullish position because I know that daily consolidation is inevitable. So we know our strongest charts have the 5-minute oversold conditions mark hourly higher lows. They have the 15-minute oversold conditions mark the 4-hour higher lows. So that's something we're keeping an eye on this current 4-hour consolidation. Are there any clues on Sol BTC, or is it just doing the same thing as the US dollar pairing? Same thing as a US dollar pairing. Not seeing any difference. Sometimes we get clues, sometimes we don't. And in this instance, I'm not seeing any clues on the BTC pairing. So if you're looking bearish on Sol, I would be looking for a top fishing play. I would be like, well, honestly, I would need a big enough. Oftentimes when I'm trying to play counter trend, and obviously counter short-term trend in this instance, the long-term trends are still very weak. Same thing I just talked about with MARA. We've got to confirm a daily uptrend. This is a move straight off the lows. This was a short squeeze, and we have to see the daily higher low and higher high for this move to have follow through. So if I'm looking counter trend, if I'm looking counter these short-term trends, I want to see a big enough move without me to then say, all right, the lower high is the most likely scenario. I have confidence that that lower high is going to form. And then I make my entry, stop over the high, and then we look for the trend change to confirm. If at this point I'm looking short, that's what I want to see. If the bulls hold 13, 17 support here, then that's going to keep this 4-hour consolidation very healthy, and it's going to keep a 4-hour bull flag potentially on the table. So a simple statement we can say is, if 13, 17 is support, then it's a 4-hour bull flag. We must break 13, 17 support as the first indication to try and not be a 4-hour bull flag. Looks like the stock market bulls are trying to recover 1-minute equilibrium. Again, when you see a significant move in one direction and then you retrace 50% plus, scout the equilibrium. So we're heading towards resistance. If we reject, we'll keep tightening up. If we break bull, then that will be bulls recovering from the bearish reaction to the FOMC minutes. Bitcoin trying to recover as well, though not as significantly at this point. So I'm not ready to say the Sol top is in. I would be more confident if we had a volume climax, which we don't have at this point. Vitalik. Thanks. Vitalik. So I need a volume climax, and we had a bit of a volume climax with some temporary tops. Look at this hourly. So the highest, here's a volume climax, here's a volume climax. The highest hourly candles, it didn't mark the top, but it marked, a top for a 8-9% pullback. And so we didn't see a volume climax on the longer term timeframes at this point. The daily chart, not a volume climax. 4 hours left to go, but not looking like it. So I'm not ready to say the top's in. Long story short. Ethereum had a bull break on the daily, so it's stronger than Bitcoin because Bitcoin has not broken this resistance yet. Ethereum, weekly higher low set. So let's talk bigger picture again because we've been tracking this for a long time. Ethereum is trying to form a monthly higher low compared to our fear low of 879. So we're viewing this as the bottom, the monthly lower high, and now we're trying to form a monthly higher low. What do we need to set a monthly higher low? We need a weekly trend change to the bulls. All right. So we've been scouting a weekly higher low. We know we need a daily trend change to the bulls to scout or to set a weekly higher low. We now have that. So low, high of the bounce, weekly higher low is now set at 1150. That's now the most important support for me on Ethereum short term. Obviously the fear low matters to me, but 1150 is the step forward for the bulls that must hold if we're going to see any kind of momentum shift from here. And we have to break 1352. That would confirm a weekly uptrend, and that would set our monthly higher low. Then we would zoom back out, and we'd be focused on the top of the initial fear climax bounce, and that was at 2031. So this is the slow progress that it takes to try and reverse longer term trends. It takes a very long time. You got to change the daily trend, then you change the weekly trend, then you change the monthly trend. It takes months to change the monthly trend. So we're set up well where if the S&P 500 bulls confirm a 2-week inverse head and shoulders pattern, we're going to be looking for the cryptocurrency space to have some pretty notable monthly bounces underway. And Ethereum is closer than Bitcoin to getting that underway. Monthly inside bar for December and a break of 1352 would confirm the monthly higher low is set. So that's something that we're keeping an eye on, bigger picture. And what also needs to take place for the confidence in the Ethereum bulls is this ETH BTC 3-day chart, this equilibrium we've been tracking for months, or at least a month. This has to break bull. We're heading up towards resistance, which was a double top where we topped out at the end of November. If we reject, we can definitely stay within this tightening range for another couple weeks. But a key test is approaching, and if ETH BTC were to break this pattern bullish, well, trying to find clarity on a longer term time frame, it would be a monthly higher low being set because we've essentially got monthly consolidation, inside bar, inside bar, inside bar. And if we can break bull from those inside bars, the monthly higher low will be set and we'll be looking back up at this double top from the bull market. So keep an eye on that ETH BTC chart. Certainly a solid move over the last couple of days, but still range bound at the moment. Litecoin, double top at 78. So zooming in, do we still have a 4-hour uptrend? The answer is yes. Bears are going to be hoping for pretty much everything that I'm looking at on any altcoin right now. The context is within Bitcoin terms. Bitcoin, if we reject from 17,000, then we're going to be looking for Litecoin to potentially be a 4-hour head and shoulders and reject from this double top and start daily consolidation. If Bitcoin breaks $17,060 to be exact, then we're going to be looking for Litecoin to be heading back up to test this double top of $78. So we are still in a 4-hour uptrend. We do still have 4-hour EMA 12 support. And Litecoin BTC is doing the exact same thing. No clues here, although a little bit weaker, just in the sense that, let's retract that. There is a little detail here. This support level, we are closer, much closer to that on the BTC pairing. So keep an eye out, because if this LTC BTC support breaks first, it increases probabilities that the US dollar pairing is going to break as well. So with how we are currently set up, it's looking like the BTC pairing would break first if we are going to lose that support level. S&P 500, looks like we just barely got over resistance, pretty much a double top, just range bound, ping-ponging back and forth. I bet the NASDAQ didn't break. Nope, it did. Bull break zero, follow through. Range bound still. Tug of war. Nobody has won the FOMC reaction yet. The bears have the advantage because of the initial drop down, but we got to see a new low for them to solidify that control, which would just be a 5-minute downtrend confirming. So Litecoin bull still holding on well. Litecoin has a lot of space for a daily high or low, even if we do see consolidation from here. Anything above 65.53 will be a daily high or low. So that's something we're going to be keeping an eye on. We'll be keeping an eye on first hourly oversold conditions for Litecoin to scout that daily high or low. And for a weekly continuation move, Litecoin would have to get back up towards 84.97. So now let's look at some of our previous lead bears, like Mana and Sand, and they've got solid daily bounces. And what's notable to me is we're getting over daily EMA 12. So even if we don't break resistance of 34 cents, there is a setup for the potential of an inverse head and shoulders. Again, we've got to change the trend. We're coming straight off the lows. So once this move tops out, once we lose the 4-hour uptrend, we'll be looking for a daily high or low. And if the bulls can confirm a daily uptrend, we will then say, okay, this is different. We haven't seen this in the last month. Bulls are proving something to us for the first time in the last month. So I am keeping an eye on these names, not necessarily to make entries in these weaker names, but if the weakest names are finding a bottom and seeing momentum shifts and trend changes, that shows me, just like, watching the crypto stocks and watching the high risk assets in the market, it shows confidence starting to return a little bit. People are willing to start putting money into play. And again, we don't get that indication unless we get the trend change, because this can just be some, desperate bulls trying for a bounce and some shorts taking profit. And if we don't change the trend, then that's all it has to be. But if you change the trend, that shows me, because essentially when the daily consolidation is taking place, you have bears that have re-entered positions, you have longs that sold on the bounce. But if you set this higher low and higher high, that proves to us that longs continued buying and they continued putting pressure on shorts. And anybody that shorted that daily consolidation has to cover, or they're going to be underwater. So that's essentially what a trend change shows us, is can they prove follow through? Does cash continue to come off the sidelines into the cryptocurrency sector and see bounce follow through? So that trend change is essential. We had a Binance, one of the tightest sideways Binance ranges we've had in a very long time. Very nice bull break, quick few percent move on stops being triggered, entries and stops, because as soon as we break 249, that's the go signal. You have to ensure that you break 255 behind it for follow through, which we did. But this move happened all at once. Nice follow through. But it happened all at once here as all those orders are just triggering each other. Looks like a bear reaction now. 5-minute downtrend confirmed on the NASDAQ and S&P 500. So probabilities for the daily inside bar just increased significantly. And now it's just a question of, can bears keep control for the rest of the day to try and head back to the lows? Bitcoin 5-minute bear flag confirmed with it. So Binance, this is what bulls want to see. So that initial move up is all just orders triggering from stop losses and long entries. And then once that subsides, once you hit that peak and you consolidate, now the question is, okay, do bulls continue entering and continue putting pressure on bears? And the answer is yes, because we head to that higher high, and that shows us bulls were buying on consolidation. So Binance has a weekly bounce underway, still a ton of space for a weekly lower high to form, anything under 318. We're not doing anything to change the weekly trend at this point, but we're trying to create a big enough bounce to eventually attempt the weekly trend change. There will come a time again when we have an uptrend on the monthly, weekly, daily timeframes in crypto. But right now, Bitcoin is a monthly and weekly downtrend and a daily, not even really clear. Ethereum's got a daily uptrend. So we have to see all these trends change one at a time. And again, it's a slow road, which is why that last bear market in 2019, Bitcoin traded sideways forever. It was 4 months of absolutely nothing going on whatsoever. I mean, look at this. But that allows for a reset. That allows for indicators to reset. It allows for moving averages to drop down. It allows to build a base of support and then work from those longer term trend changes. So again, I can't stress enough how much, in my opinion, the short term meaning the next 2 months of crypto is going to be dictated by whether or not the S&P 500 is a 2-week inverse head and shoulders. We know crypto can do its own thing, but until I see evidence that it's doing its own thing, we're going to track the sentiment of the equities market, in my opinion. And so we are either, again, I keep talking in my broader stock market videos how we're at a crossroads right now, because we are either going to set the 2-week high or low and get to the highest level in months and be closer to the all-time high than our fear low, or bulls are going to fail and we're going to fade back down to our fear low. And of course, if we hit a new fear low, it's a new wave of fear. And if that were to happen, I would anticipate that, Bitcoin's going to be looking back down towards that 15.5 thousand low, and it'll be a refresher of fear sentiment. So the next 2 weeks are very critical for me. One other scenario would be we set the 2-week high or low, we fail resistance, and then roll over. So there's 2 bear scenarios and 1 bull scenario. But we don't even look to the bull scenario as a possibility unless we break this resistance from the high of last week on the S&P 500. That's a very important level. Bears are following through a bit more now on their FOMC minutes reaction. Back to the low of the day test. Again, obviously not a good sign for bulls overall. And we'll see if we hold that low of the day or not. All right, I'm reading the chat room. Appreciate you sticking with me. Thanks for the likes and the shares and subscribes. If we get back to 100 likes, that increases the probability that Bitcoin can break 17,000. That's the way it works. ETH showing dominance over BTC, absolutely. Keep an eye on that 3-day time frame double top. Sure, I can look at APT. So APT is a downtrend, and if you don't have supports, well, I guess we got the all-time low there. Anything under 543, just a daily lower high. And again, certainly in this crypto environment, would not look to long something like this until we have momentum in favor of the bulls. Well, I'm on the weekly time frame. Same thing, weekly downtrend. All right, nice bounce, absolutely. Can the bulls confirm a daily trend change once this bounce tops out? We have a lot of space for a daily higher low to form as the result of next consolidation, but we must confirm the higher low and higher high for the bulls to prove to us that there is sustainable buying pressure and that this isn't just a short squeeze, short covering, it's certainly not a squeeze, short covering bounce. There's a difference between a short covering bounce in a completely bear controlled market versus money coming off the sidelines and into the sector. Question about futures. If you're not looking for FDIC insurance because you want lower fees, that's fine. Just anticipate there's a 0.5% chance I'm going to lose all this money, just like FTX. What was the FTX percentage chance of that to happen 6 months ago? 0.5, 1% chance, whatever the number is. You just have to accept that. And if it's a smaller amount of capital and you're using leverage, so it's not as big a deal, then yeah, that's absolutely fine to not need FDIC insurance. Sand is pretty much the same thing as mana. No real difference. Nice big old bounce. Daily resistance is in play. We're rejecting from that daily resistance initially, 46 cents. And again, it's that same potential inverse head and shoulders where if we start daily consolidation from here, we've got to confirm the trend change. The sand has not had a daily uptrend since early December. Have to see that change. Looks like we have a potential volume climax on sand on the daily candle. So high, low, hourly lower high. And if bears break 425, it'll be a confirmed hourly downtrend, and it'll be a lot more convincing that daily consolidation is shaping up. LTC, BTC, did we break support? We did, so that's notable. So when you're talking about bear divergence, or you're talking about things like that, well, it's still a double bottom, but it's notable that we are at that support while LTC USD is not at its 4-hour support. Again, this is one of the instances where we are getting a clue from the BTC pairing. And so we will be watching for Litecoin to potentially be a 4-hour head and shoulders. If we hold 73.65, we'll scout the 4-hour lower high to be the result of the next bounce. BTC rejecting from 17,000 doesn't necessarily mean back to 15,000. We can form a daily high or low and a tightening range above 16, I forget the number, 16.3. You know, it's possible to pull one of these if we reject hard and just continue to be boring and sideways. Again, it depends on the broader market. We're boring and sideways because the S&P 500 the last 2 weeks has been boring and sideways. If the S&P 500 breaks this low, then Bitcoin is likely headed back towards 15.5. And if the S&P 500 breaks this high, then Bitcoin is likely headed up towards upper 17,000s. Near. That's a lot of short covering on near. Daily trend change confirmed. So a little higher low and higher high. Weekly bounce very clearly underway. Weekly resistance from here is 183. Anything under 183 keeps the bears in full control of a weekly downtrend. So 183 is the target for the bulls. A lot of space for a daily higher low next consolidation. A lot of space for a 4-hour higher low. Still in an hourly uptrend. Hourly EMA 12 still holding. Bulls have full short-term control as long as hourly EMA 12 is support. When we lose it, we zoom out and scout the 4-hour higher low. Bulls would love to see 5-minute oversold conditions here mark our hourly higher low. That would show continued strength. So we just hit 5-minute oversold. Bulls need to confirm a 5-minute uptrend back in their favor for an hourly higher low to be shaping up. I don't know anything about WGMI, Bitcoin miner. I don't care much about crypto stocks aside from just the few. Really, it's just MARA and coin. Riot every now and again, I look at it, but I just look for MARA and coin. I trade them sometimes, fairly rarely, but those are my gauges for how are crypto stocks trading compared to the crypto sector. Is there any notable divergences between the two? GBTC, are we still weaker? Sideways. This is a falling wedge that I drew, and I call this a falling wedge break just through time. This isn't a falling wedge break that you want to see as a bull because you want to see the volume and the follow through, and you want to be over 875 very quickly. This is just sideways, and time broke this pattern, not price action. A little bit of price action, but not the kind bulls want to see. And again, it's that 17,000 level. Imagine you're a Bitcoin bear. Imagine you're in a Bitcoin bear swing position. Do you have anything to worry about if 17,000 doesn't break? The answer is no. There's definitely a bunch of stop losses right behind it. I don't think there's enough to make us squeeze up to 18.4, but should be enough to at least follow through for a couple percent. Got to check in on the metals real quick. I'm scouting a silver rising wedge on the daily. Whoops. Stopped out of a gold attempt, but still in silver. Close to rolling over, not yet. XMR. 153.10 resistance. We'll call that a double top. We rejected by 30 cents. So here's another one. This is similar to Ethereum, where we're trying to form a monthly high or low compared to our fear low, and we are close to doing so. We're close to setting a monthly high or low here. If this inside bar breaks bull over 153.10, we could say our monthly high or low is set. We then have 162.10 and 174.20 resistances, but that's the first step towards trying to confirm a monthly uptrend. So bears are defending 153.10 resistance. If we break 147.40, this quick little high or low from yesterday, if that were to break, it would be a notable, convincing rejection. At this point, we're still in a 4-hour uptrend. Obviously, it's a big pullback. This might be a rising wedge as well. Nah. Little too much bull follow through. I was going to draw something like this. More of a channel. Worth keeping an eye on this uptrending support line as a visual guide. But if we're going to see a convincing rejection from 153.10, the bears need to confirm a 4-hour downtrend. Trading view is still not ideal for me today. Anyways, you've got to, if we pull back and hold 147.40, then you got to set the lower high and lower low to confirm the 4-hour downtrend and convincingly reject from that resistance level. EMPH, not going to look at individual stocks at the moment. We ain't got time for that. It's very weak. 234 is a must-hold support level. The energy sector is rolling over and potentially very key support here, 81.81. If that level breaks, we confirm a weekly downtrend in the energy sector. Also watching the same thing for healthcare. Is healthcare going to roll over and confirm a weekly downtrend for the first time in a long time? Oh, WGMI was the ETF. That's right. Probably extremely low volume, I would assume. Average daily volume for, $20,000 traded a day. Not even penny stock worthy. If you want to feel like a whale, take 20 grand and play around with WGMI. ADA. So ADA is doing the same thing as Mana and Sand. Lead bear for a year plus. Daily bounce underway. Daily resistance of 2664 is being tested. We broke it, so that's one little difference. No follow through, but we did break resistance where Sand and Mana did not. We've got a lot of space. So if I'm looking at these moves on these weaker names and feeling FOMO, you're waiting for daily consolidation. And you're looking for a daily high or low to be the result of this pullback. And then you're putting a stop under the low, because obviously if we hit a fresh low, then you're wrong. Bulls aren't doing anything to change momentum. But if you hold the low and break the high, it's the first sign of a shift in a month. Then, of course, we got to deal with the weekly downtrend that's been massive, one step at a time. But again, you're not chasing these moves right now. because we have so many downtrends on so many time frames that you've got to wait for consolidation if you want more favorable risk and reward. I already looked at Litecoin. A little bit of a notable shift, keeping an eye out for potential daily consolidation to shape up. Just looked at Matic. All right. That's all I got. Broader market right now, trying to bounce a little bit. Bulls just wanting to hold the low of the day. So potential that we have daily inside bars heading into tomorrow. Again, keep an eye on this broader market. 2-week inverse head and shoulders or not? That is the question for the next week plus. Of course, Bitcoin 17,000 matters a lot in the short term. But if Bitcoin breaks 17,000 and the broader market breaks recent lows, then we're going to anticipate zero follow through. So we have to just think about things, right now, the entire macro market environment all over, aside from pockets, gold bulls have been a bit confident over the past couple months, but for the most part, people are scared to put their money in markets right now. And so we have to see sentiment shifts that start to get that cash off the sidelines. And as I mentioned on the Twitter post, that video about treasuries, that's another reason to keep bulls patient. Oh, I can trade 4-week treasuries now and get 3.8% yield risk-free. So obviously, people trading crypto are looking for a lot more than 3.8% in a year. But if you've got $1 million and you can either put your $1 million in play in an extremely volatile environment, or you can sit back and earn $38,000 on the year with zero risk, it's not that bad while you patiently wait for more confidence. Pretty much people that aren't trying to nail the bottom, that's what they're doing. They're sticking their cash in these yielding instruments while they patiently wait until they have more confidence. Looking forward to when the crypto momentum shifts. It will. It always does. We will shift, whether we're going back to all-time high. I'm not on the boat of all-time highs every halving cycle. It's the kind of thing where like Netflix, the stock, forever increasing subscribers, year after year after year after year. There is going to become a year where we do not see increasing subscribers. And we just saw that and we dumped massively. And so there will be a time where a Bitcoin halving cycle does not lead to all-time highs, and it's going to lead to maybe one of the more bearish markets we've seen in crypto comparative to even these really bearish ones. I just don't have an assumption because I feel that if I were to have that kind of assumption, it could get me in trouble as far as assuming we're just going to go back up and maybe I'm okay bag holding. Again, that's what my long-term no-touch position is for. If we keep going up to all-time highs every halving, then great, I'm going to benefit. My net worth will be going up. But I just see so many people that are just, they take that as gospel, as this is going to happen. And for me, that's just very scary to have that kind of blind faith. So hopefully it does. That'd be great. But again, we have to, in this game, prepare for all scenarios. Do good things. I hope you're well. Appreciate you tuning in. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Happy New Year.